Hey again, besties. If you're anything like me, you love checking off lists. And most of us are constantly pursuing these new goals or achievements in search of happiness. At least I am, because I'm crazy and I think I need to do a billion different things in order to be successful. So let's think about it. Do you actually want to go to grad school or college, or do you just not know what else to do? Or are you just bored? Or are you just lost? Which is valid, so let's talk about it. On Rescree Analyzes, we look at creations and experiences in pop culture like art, media, music, and even video games to explore exactly why we think the way we think, question what we believe, and learn something new. There's a lot of people on TikTok, a lot of educators on TikTok. Many people indeed pursue higher education as a way to stave off that existential boredom. And as weird as it is, education is a respectable and socially acceptable way to fill that void of not knowing what to do. So let's expand on this using psychological and international relations theories, because we overthink here, baby. Existential psychologists like Viktor Frankl argue that people are driven by a search for meaning. When they lack intrinsic purpose or clear values, people seek external markers of progress like degrees or titles to compensate for that lack of internal insecurity. I get with people who are good at school and also creative or in search of this purpose, have this existential anxiety in the search for meaning and turn to school to give you that. So the question of should I go back to school often reflects this deeper anxiety am I enough? Am I good enough? Am I doing enough? Have I succeeded enough? Do I need to prove myself more? So grad school becomes a really convenient way to avoid confronting these difficult questions, especially because we all know it's very difficult to get a job right after your bachelor's, especially if you didn't network or have any job experience while you were in school. It hurts some people because, all they're literally feel like they're left with is a piece of paper. And I don't like to see people in those kinds of situations. School is comfortable. It's a natural progression. It's how we spend our lives. It's really nice to have these benchmarks of success, this clear path, this schedule, and a clear finishing point or goal or, goalpost of graduation. School is a safe and tangible way to achieve something that has meaning for ourselves and an achievement that others will understand and respect too. But again, if you don't actually have a plan for grad school, sadly, you'll be under this illusion of progress, right? So the phenomenon of pursuing higher goals without purpose aligns with this self-determination theory, which states that intrinsic motivation, or doing something because you love it, actually leads to greater well-being than doing something for extrinsic motivation, or doing something for status or validation. So many people enroll in higher education and are driven by extrinsic factors or social expectations or parental pressure, or even just because you're bored or you don't have a genuine interest or passion, but you don't know what else to do. And I have people ask this question to me a lot. And if you already have your master's, you probably get asked this question too. And people ask you, I got my bachelor's. I don't know. Should I get my master's? Babe, why are you asking me? Why are you asking me that? If you already have the lack of motivation to create your own path, that means that during your schooling in arts or humanities especially, please know that just knowing knowledge is not going to give you any more opportunities. These fields have a lot to do with getting good mentors, writing good papers, possibly getting those published, meeting with your peers in fields where you can integrate yourselves within these different niches of what you study, making friends so you can get opportunities later. If you do not have that self-discipline or desire to network and create a path for yourself, for your advanced degree to be worth it, on its own, your advanced degree won't be worth as much as it could be. And then your degree is basically for vanity. So you also have to be careful, as education is a commodity after all. So under capitalism, education is increasingly marketed as a product. People lie that it guarantees mobility in fulfillment, which obviously is an oversimplification of what an advanced degree can give you. So universities position degrees as essential to competing in this labor market, whether or not they align with the student's actual aspirations or needs. They have it as this checkbox of life. This commodification feeds into this void that capitalism creates. If you feel unfulfilled, buy a master's degree. Do you want this degree to actually gain any knowledge, or is it more about signaling prestige? This is similar to like conspicuous consumption, so pursuing something not for its utility, but for the social capital that it confers. Social capital is important, but I mean, it's just an expensive decision. Usually, people who get their MBAs, there's this huge focus on going to these Ivy League schools because you want to make the connections with people who make the most money, right? And which university would you say you're more viscerally impressed by? San Francisco State or Harvard? I'd say Harvard, and I went to San Francisco State. I have this lovely friend. She knows I'm going to say this, and we always say more money, more problems, right? And indeed. And they want this title of doctor out of spite from their family, and they know that they're not going to actually use this degree. And I'm just like, what a way to spend your time, girly. Like, they're paying for their education, and it doesn't mean that much to them, you know? Like, they could spend that money in whatever way they want, and this is just what she feels like will lead her to the most fulfillment, just knowing that she could do it. And you have the right to do this. She has the right to do this. Absolutely. So if in a way you just want to prove to yourself that you can do it, that's valid. You know, it's a choice, but considering advanced degrees and actually accumulating debt, if you're in that pool, like most of us are, if you're just considering grad school and not sure if it's worth the debt at this point, I have some deep, deep feelings about advanced degrees and debt. You should heavily consider if it's worth it to pursue your degree if it's not funded. And this is going to kind of depend on individual circumstances and your individual career goals. And each industry is going to be different. Graduate schools can be costly. And if funded by loans, it can take years to recoup that investment, kind of depending on what you study. So for example, the average debt for a master's is $71,000 in the United States, which is insane. And there are plenty of programs that offer fellowships and scholarships, and even studying abroad. You can get government scholarships from both your home university and in the country that you're studying abroad in. And these international programs were a huge reason why I was able to graduate both my master's and bachelor's with no debt. And so I'm going to bring up everyone's favorite buzzword too, neoliberalism. So in neoliberalism, individualism and how it connects to this educational arms race. Woo, right? Neoliberalism, of course, emphasizes individual responsibility for success, placing that pressure on people to constantly, upgrade themselves. So higher education becomes part of this race. If everyone else is getting advanced degrees, staying competitive feels impossible without one. So all in all, before getting a master's degree or a PhD or even a bachelor's, ask, what am I actually searching for? And this question is tough. The societal obsession with degrees obscures what people genuinely want. So asking someone, why do you want a master's degree, often reveals discomfort and this lack of direction. And the answer is sometimes I don't know what else to do. And it seems like the logical next step. And I'll fall behind if I don't. But, even if you answer that you're just bored, well, maybe that's not a bad answer. Being bored can signal an unmet need for purpose or stimulation. But jumping into a major commitment like grad school without reflection often can lead to this regret. But hey, boredom is a reason. And I'm not here to tell you not to get an education, and I'm not here to push you towards it. I'm here to ask you questions, bestie, to see what best works for you. And if your reason isn't that strong and you know it isn't, and you still have lots of questions and anxiety, that can be addressed by exploring less drastic and expensive options first. You can volunteer. You can learn a new skill before going to school. You can try and educate yourself on what you would be studying in school for free and see if you even like it. Does it bring you joy and fulfillment? Do you want to study something else? I mean, information is free on the internet, guys. Teach yourself a little bit of something. And it might bring you a little bit of clarity about what truly brings you fulfillment. All in all, degrees or accolades, achievements are tools for growth, and they're not the definition of success. So look at education as a tool, not a goalpost. And the question, should I go to grad school, is deeply personal. And the challenge isn't whether to pursue a degree, but whether that pursuit aligns with what you value and who you want to become. So by breaking free from this cycle of achievement for achievement's sake, we can redirect our energy towards goals that genuinely fulfill us, not ones that temporarily fill a void of being unsure. And so every time someone asks me, should I go to grad school, I tell them that maybe the answer isn't about school at all, because what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you think a degree will solve? And the answer might indeed be school itself is what you need. And after thinking about it, maybe you want something entirely different, like a schedule, a solid goal. And if that's all you want is a schedule, or adventure, is school the best way to get there? And no doubt, though, like a master's degree a PhD or whatever will help you stand out anyway for any job that you apply to. Even if the subject doesn't match up perfectly, it's never a waste to get an education. I'm just trying to tell you guys the advice I have to get the most out of a very, very expensive and timely choice. And you got to think too, there's also this huge opportunity cost. So time spent in school is time not spent earning a salary or gaining work experience. A lot of these fellowships and stuff and advanced degrees, they are funded, but they're not big money. So you have to balance what's important to you. And that's why it's like super important to not only study, but network and do projects to get experience to make you stand out. You might not even need to finish your degree because you get an offer, because you create something. I've known people like that too, who meet people, they start a project and they don't need schooling anymore because they made the connections that they needed to in their niche in school, and were able to go on and do what they wanted to do in like nonprofits and stuff. Just know that, advanced degrees, they're for specialization. You'll be super specialized in your field, but so will everyone else. So how will you stand out? And nobody can answer that question but you. So stick to that plan, whatever is best for you, and pivot if necessary. And that's not a bad thing. Usually you will pivot because you'll learn more about yourself and your degree. You'll learn more about what you're studying and create new paths for yourself. Because I, as a freak, had zero question that school was what I wanted to do, and I will never regret getting my education. I'd go back in a heartbeat if it was free, just because I love classrooms and discussions, and it's just so fun. But yeah, I just don't understand when people don't feel the same way, because I'm like, it was never like a question I needed to go. I wanted to go so bad, and I loved it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. And overall, it's such a personal thing to want to do, but it is a huge commitment and it shouldn't be taken lightly. So I love you guys. Bye.